Breaking tonight, the House just voted to block President Trump's declaration of a national emergency because the House doesn't want one single penny going for that wall. A wall that, by the way, they might have been in favor of before Donald Trump became president, because I've showed you the sound. I'm not going to show it again, but over and over and over again, we've played it, and you see them talking about the importance of border security. So we know what happened. We know what's changed. But isn't it sad that this is that political, that potentially for the first time ever, you've got the House trying to say that the president doesn't have the right to this national emergency? Joining me right now, House Oversight Committee member, Congressman Ralph Norman. Congressman, welcome. Good to have you here.
Glad to be here, Trish.
Your reaction to all this?
Well, it's sad to say the least, Trish. I mean, I've been to the border with 9 other congressmen, and to see what's going on there, to see the drug cartels, to see the families who are suffering, who own farms that are on the border, and then to have the Democrats play this out as things, as you mentioned, they voted and supported prior to in years before, and then to say he doesn't have the right. Where was the outrage when Clinton had his 17 national emergencies? Where was the outrage when Obama had his 14? When Bush had his 13? So it's just they hate the president and they're trying to make a point. And the thing about it, Trish, they're not going to, he's going to veto it. They don't have the votes to override that. So it's all political game.
Yeah. Political games. I mean, it's all show, and I think that what's so devastating about it is, you know, we increasingly are getting to this point where, you know, when you have this kind of showmanship going on, we're ingovernable. I mean, this is effectively how they are rendering us, which is not a good place to be. Let me turn to another subject. We've been talking over and over about Venezuela. You know, that's a country that's clearly ungovernable at this point. And now there's talk, increasing talk, of what happens next. And would the U.S. be willing to send troops? I pushed the vice president on that very issue just last night in Bogota, Colombia. Watch, and I want your reaction. Is there any talk of military action, any talk of us engaging with the Colombians or the Brazilians to force him out?
Well, President Trump has made it clear that while we hope for a peaceful transition, we hope that diplomatic and economic pressure and the voice of nations around the world will result in a peaceful transition. All options are on the table.
Did you discuss military action today?
We're simply not going to allow a regime that terrorizes and oppresses and brings such deprivation and poverty to its people to continue to prevail in this hemisphere. We're going to stand strong.
Okay, so you heard him there. All options are still on the table. So I'm going to ask you, what does that mean?
Well, what it means is, Trish, he's not going to let the atrocities that you showed, what Maduro's doing to the people of his country, the starvation, you know, the utter sheer madness that this man is doing. And what this president and the vice president are saying is, we're going to hope for the best, we're going to prepare for the worst. And we'll take whatever actions that we need to free the people and get this madman out of office.
What do you think the timing might be? I mean, I imagine you've had a chance to talk with a lot of your colleagues there in D.C. about it. I made the point to the vice president last night that there's a lot of momentum, which he recognizes, rightly so, in Venezuela. The people are really, really excited. But what happens if they feel like they don't have the support and that nothing changes, and, you know, they go another month and they're still living actually in worse misery? Congressman, you have a narrow window. Do you think the United States will be able to get those other countries on board? And if they can't, do they go it alone?
Well, how do they not come on board? When they see what's happening, when they share the chaos, and like you said, this was a leading country economically years ago, and now for it to be under the regime of one man and to sit idly by, no, I think the other countries will come along, and I think once you see what is happening, you don't have a choice. Hopefully, when you deal with a madman, he'll be sane at some point and free the people and do what's right. But I don't have much hope. Timetable, who knows? But I think the vice president, the president are right by not setting a timetable, because they'll watch what happens and then take the appropriate action.
Well, I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of commitment, and you know, this is something that they care about. Indeed, it's right here in our hemisphere. Before I let you go, you're on the House Oversight Committee, sir. You get a big day there. You're set to question ex-Trump lawyer Michael Cohen. Do you trust anything he says? I mean, really? You know, when he's pleaded guilty to lying to Congress.
Trish, this is a man that in less than 70 days is going to be in an orange jumpsuit. This is a man that falsified his tax returns. This is a man that hid $20 million in debt, $4 million in income, $70,000 in monthly expenses. He lied to Congress. Why do you have him here? And, you know, it's what can you trust about him? I mean, he said he was loyal to Trump. He was loyal to Michael Cohen. He's a narcissist. He did everything to benefit himself. And they're somehow trying to tie this again to a president. What Michael Cohen did had nothing to do with the president. It had to do with enriching himself. And again, he's going to be in an orange jumpsuit in less than 70 to 80 days.
Congressman, we'll be watching you tomorrow, and Michael Cohen as well. Thank you. It's good to have you.
My pleasure.